Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning to our listeners here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Welcome to the program Front and Center, where we discuss important issues or concerns related to the development of our country, the Philippines, which we will put, as the program title says, Front and Center. On behalf of our colleague Jerome Toledo, I am your host for today, Steph Vicente. I'll be joining you for a 30 minutes worth of talk to inform and educate on topics that are very significant in our society today. You can watch and listen to our programs via RP World Services Facebook page. Just type Radyo Pilipinas World Service in the search bar. The same thing goes for our YouTube channel. You can also listen to our programs via our audio live streaming. Just download the Evox PBS receiver through Play Store if you are using an Android phone or App Store if you are using iOS. For today's edition of Front and Center, we will be talking about marriages, particularly the current marriage trends here in the Philippines. Marriage is considered a fundamental social institution that provides a framework for family formation, offers stability and support for individuals, and contributes to the overall well-being of society. Now, why do we have to know the current marriage trends in our country? The Commission on Population and Development, or CPD, has released a report entitled Couples Saying I Do Decline: How Has the Marriage Trend in the Philippines Changed Over Time? Let me read some of the details in the report as is. The figures that I'll be mentioning are from the Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, by the way. When it comes to the marriage decline, in the year 2022, the Philippines recorded 449,428 registered marriages, marking a 25.9% increase from the total registered marriages of 356,839 in 2021. However, this trend reversed in 2023 with only 414,213 registered marriages, which showed a notable decrease of 7.8%. When it comes to rise of cohabitation and children born out of formal marriages, the 2022 National Demographic and Health Survey, or NDHS, revealed that women aged 15 years old to 49 years old who are living together have gradually quadrupled within the span of 3 decades, from 5% in 1993 to 19% in 2022. Also, the 2021 Young Adult Fertility and Sexuality, or YAFS, study showed that about 12% of the 20 million youth aged 15 to 24 are living in or cohabiting. This also coincides with the released data that the number of children outside marriages is at 842,728 compared to 605,794 births from couples in formal union as per the 2023 Civil Registration and Vital Statistics. This is just an introduction to the marriage trends that we'll be mentioning later, as we will be joined by Deputy Executive Director Lolito Tacardon of the Commission on Population and Development, or CPD, after our quick break.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Paliwanag mo sa tao na hindi totoo yan.
Dahil ang totoo, yung totoo ang dapat ninyong malaman.
Nagkalat sa internet ang fake news
Ang
o
ginagawa
mali
ng
at
fake news, tinatakot niyo yung tao.
What they are doing is creating panic.
We say no.
Yung pagkalat ng fake news. And some of it's dangerous.
Sana iwasan po natin pagsispread ng fake news.
At di magpapakalat ng disinformation at misinformation ang kasulukuyang administrasyon.
Stop telling us fake news because you're wrong.
Para sa totoo at mapagkakatiwalaang mga balita at impormasyon, Radyo Pilipinas.
Garantisadong solusyon at aksyon ang handog sa iyo ng bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center. Sundin lang ang mga sumusunod para makakuha ng appointment. Para sa wala pang eGov.ph app account, panoorin ang video para malaman kung paano gumawa ng account. Kung meron ng account sa eGov.ph app, mag-login dito. Saka hanapin ang online registration tab para sa bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center. Pindutin ito para makita ang available na government services. Piliin ang serbisyo na iyong kailangan mula sa listahan. I-upload ang requirements ng serbisyong kailangan mo. Pumili ng petsa at oras kung kailan nais pumunta sa bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center. I-submit na ang iyong application at bigyan ng pagkakataon na ma-review ang iyong isinumiting requirements. Hintayin ang QR code para sa kumpirmasyon ng iyong schedule. Makakatanggap ka ng text message para malaman kung naaprubahan ito. Sakaling hindi ito maaprubahan, makakatanggap ka rin ng text message para ipaalam ang kulang na requirements sa kasubukang mag-register ulit. Kung nakatanggap na ng kumpirmasyon, maaari nang pumunta sa bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center sa napiling schedule, dala ang QR code at ang mga isinumiteng requirements. Huwag kalimutang dumating sa itinakdang araw at oras ng iyong appointment. Pinapaalala rin na siguruhing may kumpirmadong schedule bago pumunta sa bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center para maiwasang magpabalik-balik. Simple at user-friendly ang pagpapa-appointment dito. Kaya wag nang mangamba dahil sa bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center, tulong ay abot kamay na.
This is a public service announcement.
Discipline is the key. Umiwas sa aksidente sa daan. Ang pagmamaneho ay may kaakibat na responsibilidad, hindi basta mapaandar lang ang sasakyan. Kilatisin ang sarili, ang kahandaan sa manibela, siguruhing inyong konsentrasyon ay hindi magagambala. Importante rin na ating laging isipin, init ng ulo ay huwag pairalin, bagkus kaligtasan ng lahat ang siyang dapat unahin. Isang mahalagang paalala mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
This is a public service announcement.
Public service announcement.
From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And now we're back in our program Front and Center. While we are still establishing our communication with the Commission on Population and Development, let us talk about other issues that are equally as significant. So we have an update from the Department of Trade and Industry because DTI Secretary Cristina Roque on Tuesday, just yesterday, thanked Century Pacific Food Incorporated or CPFI for the 1 peso rollback on the prices of its canned sardine products. We all know that sardines is one of what we could say the food that is often brought or bought by the masses. So several brands of sardines have this rollback which took effect just yesterday. from which these companies said that the rollback was made to ease the burden on consumers and support them during these times. No, I guess we could say that they were referring to these trying times. The price cut, as said by Secretary Roque, is a big help in reducing consumers' expenses. She also assured consumers that DTI's Fair Trade Group would monitor the market to ensure that prices of basic commodities remain stable and supply continues to be adequate. Meanwhile, the Philippines production sector recovered in June 2025 from a slowdown in the previous month with stronger expansion noted for new business. This was reported by S&P Global yesterday. S&P Global Philippines Manufacturing PMI or Purchasing Managers Index increased to 50.7% from 50.1% in May to indicate a stronger, a bit still modest, improvement in the health of the Philippines manufacturing sector. An index of above 50, just for your information, indicates expansion while a level below 50 shows otherwise. S&P Global Philippines also said that this improved demand picture and renewed growth in production requirements prompted firms to increase their purchasing activity to stronger degrees. Moreover, June data marked a return to job creation and payroll numbers rose for the first time in 4 months. The report also noted that June figures were slightly stronger than in the previous month, but it remained below the long-run survey average. Meanwhile, S&P Global Market Intelligence economist Mariam Baluch, in a commentary, noted that although the country's first half manufacturing sector performance remained relatively subdued, the PMI masked some pockets of strength, citing gains in employment. She also said that expansion in orders is still moderate, partly due to supply-side challenges. And we all know that the administration under Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has been strongly encouraging foreign investors to explore business opportunities in the country, promoting the Philippines as an ideal option for smart and sustainable manufacturing. In other news, the Department of Finance or DOF said that the power sector assets and liabilities management or SOM Corporation remitted an all-time high 8.96 billion pesos dividend to the national government. In a statement on Tuesday, the DOF said Finance Secretary Ralph Recto, on behalf of the National Treasury, received the remittance during the ceremonial turnover on Monday at the DOF office in Manila. The dividend remittance is in line with Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive to uphold fiscal discipline among government-owned or controlled corporations or GOCCs, ensuring that the government maximizes non-tax revenues to fund priority programs without the need to impose new taxes on the people. Under Republic Act 7656 or the Dividend Law, government-owned or controlled corporations or GOCCs are required to remit at least 50% of their net earnings during the preceding year as dividends to the national government. To maximize non-tax revenue, the DOF earlier requested GOCCs to increase this share to 75%. SALM's mandate includes the orderly sale and privatization of National Power Corporation or NPC generation assets and real estate, the management of independent power producer contracts, and the liquidation of NPC's financial obligations in an optimal power. So we're still establishing communication with the Commission on Population and Development. And while we are doing that, we will have a quick break. Front and Center will be back.
Mahigpit na binantayan ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ang pagsusunog sa 1.3 billion kilos na nakumpiskang illegal drugs sa Cleanleaf International Corporation, Capas, Tarlac.
Kailangan tiyakin natin na yung mga nahuhuling drugs ay talagang sinisira at wala nang pag-asa na bumalik pa, na maibenta pa. The chamber's temperature will be raised to 700 degrees Celsius, which is hot enough to destroy all of the active elements within the drug.
Ikinatuwa ng Pangulo ang pagkakataong masaksihan ng lahat ang prosesong isinasagawa ng PDEA para matiyak na hindi na magagamit ang mga nasabing droga.
I'm glad that the press is here para makita ninyo kung ano ba talaga ang sistema. I'm also happy that I was able to get the opportunity na makapunta rito para makita ko rin ang buong sistema from the capture all the way until its destruction.
Para sa iba pang mga balita at impormasyon, manatiling nakatuto. Tapat sa pag-uulat. Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko, 738.
Paano nga ba mag-register para magkaroon ng schedule sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center? Narito ang mga dapat gawin. Gamit ang iyong mobile device, pumunta sa eGovPH app. Pwede itong i-download mula sa Apple App Store o sa Google Play Store. Gumawa ng account. Ilagay ang email address, valid mobile number, pagkatapos ay makakatanggap ka ng one-time code sa iyong email. Gamitin ang code sa eGov app para sa verification ng iyong account at ng mga impormasyong ibinigay. Congratulations! Meron ka ng eGovPH app account. Pwede mo na ma-access ang iba't ibang serbisyo ng gobyerno kabilang ang mga serbisyo sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center.
This is a public service announcement.
VOG. Ito ay isang uri ng air pollution na galing sa pulkan. Ito ay nagtataglay ng sulfur dioxide na kapag nalanghap ay maaaring magdulot ng pag-ubo, hirap sa paghinga, pangangati ng lalamunan, paninikip ng dibdib at iritasyon sa mata. Mapanganib ito para sa mga taong may hika, sakit sa baga, sakit sa puso, matatanda, buntis at mga bata. Anong mga dapat gawin kapag may VOG? Iwasan ang outdoor activities. Kung kinakailangan lumabas ng bahay, magsuot ng N95 face mask. Kung may iritasyon sa mata, dahan-dahang banlawan ng mata gamit ang malinis na tubig. Dalasan ang pag-inom ng tubig kung sakaling makaranas ng paninikip ng dibdib o hirap sa paghinga. At kung patuloy na mahirapan sa paghinga, dalhin ang pasyente sa pagamutan. Maging alerto at ingatan ang sarili mula sa panganib na hatid ng VOG.
This is a public service announcement.
Public service announcement
From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
This is a public service announcement.
Alamin, ito ang walang pasok guide batay sa DepEd Order No. 37 Series of 2022. Sa panahong may bagyo, automatic na walang pasok for all levels sa mga lugar na may nakataas na Tropical Cyclone Wind Signal o TCWS number 1, 2, 3, 4 at 5. Automatic suspended naman ang klase at trabaho kung ang TCWS ay inilabas sa oras na nagsimula na ang klase. Para sa mga lugar na hindi kabilang sa TCWS, ngunit nakararanas ng malakas na hangin o ulan, nakadepende kay Mayor o kay Governor ang desisyon sa suspensyon. Tandaan, sakop lamang ng DepEd Order na ito ang levels K-12 sa mga pampublikong paaralan, ngunit may option naman ang mga pribadong paaralan, state or local universities and colleges na sundin ito. This is a public service announcement.
Public service announcement
From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
This is a public service announcement.
Maging handa sa oras ng sakuna. Para sa iyo at sa iyong pamilya, laging siguruhin. Go Bag ay nakahanda at naglalaman ng mga sumusunod. Ilang pirasong damit, ready-to-eat na pagkain at inuming aabot ng 3 araw. Personal na gamit para sa inyong hygiene. First aid kit kabilang ang alcohol, bandages, gamot sa lagnat, ubo at sipon, pati na rin ang inyong vitamins at maintenance medicines. Maglagay ng pito, flashlight, lighter o posporo. Huwag kalimutan ang mga charger o power bank. At higit sa lahat, isama ang mga importanteng gamit gaya ng inyong mga legal na dokumento, IDs, ATM o passbook, insurance at iba pa. This is a public service announcement.
Public service announcement
From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And now we're back here in Front and Center to discuss the current marriage trends here in the Philippines. As mentioned earlier in our program, we are now being joined by Deputy Executive Director Lolito Tacardon of the Commission on Population and Development, or CPD. Deputy Executive Director Tacardon, welcome to Front and Center. Again, this is Steph Vicente of Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Hello, ma'am, and good morning to you and to all your followers.
Good morning again. First of all, since we're talking about the current marriage trends here in the Philippines, why is monitoring such trends in the country important when it comes to population and development?
Yeah, I think it's really very important because our population and development strategy looks into the overall family development, and the family formation starts with, of course, marriage, and cohabitation perhaps. But the more important thing is these are really determinants of forming the family, and in particular ensuring that family are well planned, and the couples and individuals are able to ensure their family goals.
I'm going straight to the trends, DED Tacardon, because one of the current Philippine marriage trends is the month of June being debunked as the so-called wedding month. We all know that it has been a tradition in the past years that June, we could somehow say that it was a trend by the brides to choose June as their wedding month. What is the perception of the CPD regarding this, and why do you think this is happening?
From Panis' perspective, we don't see anything significant in terms of the patterns on demand.
Yes.
When the couples would like to get married, but we surmise that it just so happened that since it is February, usually is the love month, what we call love month. Many couples would prefer to get engaged and get married during that month. But in terms of why, I think we don't have that information yet. But it is just interesting to see the pattern that I think June was selected before as the most preferred month for marriages because it's summer and there's not a lot of activities. But we don't really have any solid evidence on why there's a change in the pattern on demand for marriages.
So we can just assume that it is because February is the love month, which is why people just get to choose dates within February as their date of marriage. Another Philippine marriage trend now is that as we observe, let me just read the figures here so that our listeners could have a background, because among the 17 regions in the country, Calabar Zone recorded the highest number of registered marriages with 60,500 541 or 14.6% of the total marriages. And then on the other hand, on the opposite side, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM had the lowest number of registered marriages with only 2,162. So, DED Takardon, what does these figures imply?
Basically, the regions which have the highest number of population also registered the highest number of marriages. I think that's just logical, because you find many couples planning to, or getting married in those areas, and BARM is one of the regions that have the least number of population. So we just see that in terms of numbers, this number is dictated by the proportion of population within that region. Because you can also see NCR, Central Luzon, and Calabarzon. These three regions have the highest number of population in the country. So it's just natural that you can get more marriages we can observe more marriages in these regions, and in areas where you have lesser population, of course, you can just see lesser number of marriages. But I think it's kind of interesting, because even if they have the highest number of marriages in these regions, their fertility levels are actually the lowest. No? For example, in NCR, we have the total fertility rate of 1.2 children, or one child. That they are being born, that is being born among couples in National Capital Region, and yet we have a huge number of getting married in this region. So we surmise that the number or the volume of marriages is really dependent on the number of population as well of a particular region.
So we have so in short, a larger population equals also big numbers when it comes to marriages happening in that region.
Yes, but in terms of, it might be interesting to look at the proportion of marriages in this region, which we don't have the data yet. But we would like to understand in terms of the percentage or proportion vis-a-vis the total population as well.
And of course, we have to consider also the modern culture, especially probably the millennials and the Gen Zs right now, because as we observe, somehow, even though couples get married, they have different priorities aside from having children.
You're right. Because we have seen patterns of younger people delaying marriage and delaying having children, because based on the same database, the Civil Register and Vital Statistics provides us the data that the median age for marriage is now at 28 years old.
Yes.
So that means younger generations are now preferring to delay their marriage, and by the time they get married, sometimes they can just have one child or lesser than two children. So that's I think the emerging pattern among younger generation nowadays.
I guess they are getting practical due to the cost of living. And speaking of that, based on figures also, most of the registered marriages in the Philippines were done through a civil wedding. So, as we speak, are Filipinos just being practical, or there are other circumstances behind this trend?
Yeah, you're right. I think there's the dimension of practicality in terms of consideration for getting marriage, because as an additional information based on also on our other studies, now there's an increasing number of couples who are actually having cohabitation or living in arrangement prior to marriage. For example, in from our data on the population on the census, in 2015 we just recorded 5% of our population who are in living in arrangement, but this surged to around 14% in 2020. So there's really a steady pattern of increasing proportion of couples who are cohabiting and engaging into living in arrangement. And in relation to that, perhaps there's also preference for civil wedding because of its practicality. So parang they are really related in terms of preferences, not only on marital relationship, but even on the modality of getting married.
And I guess this our last question would be, since we have mentioned the trends and you have also mentioned the median age of marriage, I would just like to repeat this. In 2023, the median age of marriage was 28 years old for women and 30 years old for men. So now, with our last question, what would be the role of policymakers, government agencies like the CPD and other organizations in somehow managing, or I guess monitoring, the aforementioned marriage trends?
I think these numbers in terms of the patterns and trends in marriages is really very important, and particularly in terms of services that cater to the well-being and development of Filipino families. Because as I mentioned a while ago, marriage is the modality by which families are formed. So if you're from an agency that's working on family development,
I guess our communication was cut suddenly. We'll try to call again DED Takardon. We'll just have a quick break and then we'll go back to the interview.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
This is a public service announcement.
Alamin, ito ang walang pasok guide batay sa DepEd Order No. 37 Series of 2022.
Hello po, naputol po yung
Sa sitwasyon ng pagbaha, automatic na walang pasok for all levels sa mga lugar na kasama sa flood warning ng Pag-asa. Automatic suspended naman ang klase at trabaho kung ang flood warning ay inilabas sa oras na nagsimula na ang klase. Para sa mga lugar na hindi kabilang sa flood warning ngunit nakararanas ng pagbaha, nakadepende kay Mayor o kay Governor ang desisyon sa suspensyon. Tandaan, sakop lamang ng DepEd order na ito ang levels K-12 sa mga pampublikong paaralan, ngunit may option naman ang mga pribadong paaralan, state or local universities and colleges na sundin ito.
This is a public service announcement. Public service announcement
From PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And now we're back. I guess this would be the last part of our program, Front and Center. And we're still with Deputy Executive Director Lolito Takardon of the Commission on Population and Development, or CPD. I'll just repeat the question earlier. So what would be the role of policymakers, government agencies, and other organizations in somehow managing or monitoring the aforementioned marriage trends?
Okay, I think it's really very important for government agencies and its instrumentalities, especially those who are dealing with family development, to understand and be informed of the patterns of marriages in the country so that they can design their policies and programs to be more responsive on the trends of families in the country. For example, the family planning program should be catered in terms of also reaching out to couples who are not, for example, engaging or entering into marriage, by providing them information, for example, responsible parenthood and services on the family planning, the provision of family development services also on the social welfare side should be also very much informed supposedly of this pattern, so they would know how to distribute and how to provide the services needed by families, even those who are not binded by formal marriages. So I think these data are really very important in general for towards family development.
Mm-mm. And this do you have any final message for our listeners, especially those who might be monitoring this marriage trends?
Yeah, the CPD promotes responsible family planning and family planning and responsible parenthood. And the whole always of the agency is that whenever you enter into marriage or intending to form a family, the couple should ensure that they are prepared to provide for the needs of the members of the family, ensure that every member would be able to achieve their aspirations and family development objectives. So that's always our advocacy to everyone, to every Filipino family.
And that's it. Thank you so much again, DED Tacardon, for joining us in our program for today.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And we just had Deputy Executive Director Lolito Tacardon, Commission on Population and Development, or CPD, for the topic Current Marriage Trends here in the Philippines. And that ends today's edition of Front and Center. This has been Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.